In this Python code snippet, we're going to have a look at defining functions. So there's two objectives of this tutorial. One is how do we define a function, and the next one is calling a function. So let's start by defining two sets of the same output. Here is output set 1, and here is output set 2. Now they're the exact same code requiring 8 lines to output the information. So when I right mouse click and run this, you can see in our output 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. We can use functions to modulate or group like things together. So in this case here we've got two outputs. So let's start by defining a function. So we're going to use the word def. This means define. Then we use the function name. Now the function name uses the same developer principles as variable names. We can't have a number at the front and we can't use capitals at the front, and we should be applying what's called pothole case, which is the common developer principle for Python. So I'm going to call this code output. Now you can see that I've used all lowercase and with a underscore to join the words together. This then meets the requirements of pothole case. Then we have two brackets, so shift 9 and shift 0, followed by a colon. Now at the moment this is defining the function, and we need to indent the code so that it sits within inside the function. So when I press enter, you can see the indentation, or what's known as the stubbing of the code. Anything that occurs on this line inside this function going down will be a part of this code. So if I highlight everything, I can actually click the tab key and that will indent the whole group, or shift tab will bring it back to the margin. So by pushing tab, I can then remove the blank line, not that it would have affected our code, and you can actually see now that these 4 lines of code are part of our defined code output. This is sometimes known as like a hanging paragraph, where we define it and then everything that sits indented inside this module are associated with code output. So when we run our code now, you can see that we're only seeing line 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make it a little clearer by making this one 5, 6, 7, and 8. So when we run it again, you can actually see it only outputs 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's because these 4 lines of code here are associated with this function, and the function hasn't been called yet. So to call a function, we go down and we actually call its name. So code underscore output. And when we use this, it will call this function and run the code associated inside there. So when I hit play, you see we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, then 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's because it does the main timeline work first, the lines of code that are on the margin, and then it calls the function. So the program then heads up and runs the code here. When it runs out of lines of code to execute here, it then returns back to the output area. And I could put another print statement in here saying this is the end. So the very last line should be this is the end. So once this is finished being outputted, then it runs the next line of code, 19 in this case, which puts out the end. So that's how we do a function call. Now if we want to define 5, 6, 7, 8 as a function, we can actually go in here and go def. Then we need to give it a name. I will call this one message output. Once again, you need the open and close brackets and the colon at the end. Highlight the lines of code and press tab. When I run this program now, you'll see that I only get 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the end. That's because there's no lines of code to execute on the main timeline here on the left until we get to code output. So the first thing the program does is heads back up to code output, prints through these. When that concludes, it goes to the next line of code, which is this is the end, and that gives us the exact output. I can call message output from here and type in message output, and this is now forming what is known as the main program. So I can put a comment in here called main program. So code output is called first, and then the message output is called second, which will then give me this output of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you can have a function, code output, call message output. Now to call another function from inside of a function, all we need to do is once again type out its name. So we go message output. So this program now will run code output, message output, and if we follow our program all the way through, so message output, it finishes this section, that code's finished, and then it should run message output again and then go this is the end. So we should see a duplication of 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the end. So this allows functions to call functions. It allows the main program to call a function. One of the main rules are that we follow pothole case when naming our functions, and also a function must be declared before we can actually call it. So therefore, code output must be declared at the top before you call it below. If this is moved above and placed here, so I'm calling code output, you can already see the program telling me there's an error. And that's because Python doesn't know it exists yet. So remember to always declare your functions at the top. I have a comment and code my main program below to ensure that my program works effectively. So in this tutorial, we've covered defining functions using the def command and how we can call them from the main timeline against the margin, and also how functions can call other functions. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. Give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and also have a look around for other useful Python code snippets.